Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Two Asian Blokes podcast, a podcast where we talk about Asian pop culture, films, TV shows, anime, comic books, music, food, video games, whatever we're feeling at the time, really. My name is Dan with H, and with me, as always, is my co-host Tavi. Hello, Tavi.
Hey, Dan. Yeah, you went through that pretty speedily this time. Yeah. Depending on how you choose to edit today's episode.
Well, yeah, I mean, for this episode, I'm going to focus a lot on the editing.
I didn't realize how suited my my awakeness is at the moment for this episode. But, yeah.
You've had a long day, have you?
Yeah, it's just been a long couple of weeks. I've just had a sudden inburst of work. So it's just like, oh yeah, feels like I haven't really had a chance to have a break. Which is like more and more I'm thinking about it is actually really kind of ties in with the movie that we're talking about today.
It's pretty appropriate, isn't it?
Yeah, like it literally just dawned on me. But yeah, today we are talking about the anime movie Pompo the Cinephile, or the Japanese title is it Eiga Daisuki
Pompo-san. At the time of publishing this episode, it will be out in cinemas, so yeah, I mean, there's not much to spoil in this film, but Tavi and I will be talking about it pretty extensively. So if you want to go in fresh, I guess go watch it before listening to this. But yeah, like I said, it's not that very much to spoil. It's a pretty light watch in general, right?
Yeah, very light watch. Yeah, the movie is good.
The plot is they want to make a movie, and then at the end they make the movie. So there's your spoilers.
that's basically it. But it kind of I wanted to kind of cover this because I am a filmmaker, like still pretty fresh, but some experience. So I thought this might be an interesting one to explore because there is kind of I'm not sure what you call it a subgenre, but there is like a number of films that are about filmmaking. When I think of ones from Japan, there's obviously the one that we watched earlier this year.
It's a
part
summer
of the festival is a summer film.
Yeah.
A few years back, One Cut of the Dead, which is probably the best film about filmmaking that I've ever seen. I would highly that. If you want to know, like, all the shit that can go wrong while filming, you should watch that movie. Sure. But it's also really funny.
Even in American cinema, we've got that. What's that movie with James Franco about the making of The Room with Tommy Wiseau?
Oh yeah, Disaster Artist. Yeah. Even Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, to an extent as well. So it's not just down to like just Japanese films, but I'd kind of seen them a bit more. Even, Why Don't You Play in Hell is another one. Even going way back, there's that anime that you introduced me to. You remember Ichigo 100%? Oh, yeah. Fuck yeah. Yeah, that's a bit of a throwback. Let's go way back, like more than a decade now.
It's a harem anime, basically, but it is based around like them trying to make a movie.
I completely forgot about that plotline.
Natsukashi, ne?
Yeah, fucking hontou ni natsukashi. But yeah, I didn't think I'd seen an anime about this one for a little while. Despite the movie being called Pompo, it's actually mostly about Jean.
Give us a rundown of the plot of this film, Avi.
Yeah, so basically Jean is a PA for Pompo. So she's like a kid who's like a genius producer who only makes 90-minute B movies. And she has an eye for picking out talent. And she picks Jean to be her production assistant. So, basically the set bitch. You get people coffee. But yeah, they both really love films. And Pompo gives Jean a chance to direct his debut when he spots, what was that character? Natalie?
Yep.
Natalie Woodward. Who's just kind of like a kind of like a lower class worker. She's an aspiring
actress who is currently doing part-time jobs to pay the bills. Your typical Hollywood story, I guess.
Yeah, it's funny because this movie takes place in a alternate universe called Nyali wood.
Yeah.
So whenever you hear nya in Japan, it's kind of like they're mimicking a cat noise, but it makes it like cute. So you hear a lot of like, Nyali wood. I think there's some other like
The
puns in this movie.
Academy Awards.
The Academy Awards, yeah.
Sure. It's basically
So-
just a legally distinct version of Hollywood and the Academy Awards, right?
Isn't there like a Pepsi, but it's called
Nyepsi. Yeah, you're right.
yeah, that's it. So it's
So there are
a very-
parallels to the real world,
Yeah.
yeah. The real world that they are trying to parody is Hollywood, or mimic is Hollywood, I should say. I don't think I wouldn't call it this a parody.
no.
It's more of
I
a
think
homage, maybe.
yeah, because they don't like lampoon it. They actually pay
If anything,
quite a bit of respect.
it's the most naive vision of Hollywood and modern
It is.
filmmaking that I've ever seen, probably. It's so wholesome.
Yeah, it's a very wholesome movie.
I'll get into that in a bit, but
it's
continue with the plot, though.
Yeah, no, there's not really too much more to it, really. Yeah, Gene just gets a chance to make his movie.
Well, at first, Pompo tasked Jean with making the trailer for one of her films. But then her and the director are so impressed with his trailer that Pompo decides to get Jean to direct a film that she's written. And yeah, she has written this particular film with, what's her name? Natalie
Woodward.
Natalie Woodward in mind. So it's a pretty...
Natalie Utowado.
Woodward, that's right. It's a pretty important project to Pompo, and she's given it to Jean because she sees a lot of potential in Jean, right? She's been working with Jean as her PA for a long time, and she thinks he's got something. He's got the spark. And the same with Natalie as well. She thinks that Natalie has something, some kind of X factor that is going to make her a star. And since she's got a great eye for talent, that's kind of, it lends to a promising project overall. Other people attached to the project are Martin Braddock, which is
who's obviously, I guess, a Martin Brando, Martin Scorsese
Marlon Brando,
combination.
Daniel Day-Lewis, maybe. But he's more boisterous, I guess, than those people. I don't know. Again, this is a very naive depiction of this kind of leading actor. He's like, he's a bit arrogant. He says he's the best actor of all time.
He's a little bit arrogant, but he's not an asshole.
He's not. At the same time, he's quite like... there's a point in the film where he gives his opinion to Jean, and Jean's like, actually, no, I disagree with that. And then Martin is like, yeah, it's your job to disagree. You should disagree with me.
Yeah,
so,
I remember that,
you're the boss, yeah? Like, everybody should give their opinions, but it's up to you whether you want to use it or not. And I guarantee you there are no Hollywood actors of that caliber that are saying that to directors, I reckon.
You'd be surprised. I mean,
like in real life, this guy would be like doing a Vin Diesel and just railroading this type of director.
Yeah, it does happen more than once. Like, I've heard about like people on set who just try to talk to the director and just like, yeah, you should do this and do that. And that's like not really a good thing to do.
His face, Fight Club guy.
Who?
Edward Norton.
Oh yeah, Edward Norton. Yeah, he does that a lot. But like when you obviously I'm not worked with the caliber of Edward Norton or Daniel Day-Lewis, but like, yeah, there's a hierarchy for a reason.
What is the hierarchy of filmmaking?
Well, it's supposed to be executive producer, your producer, and your director. And
then the actors are below that?
Yeah, actors are below that.
Okay.
And probably below the actors is crew, like, cinematographer and gaffers and all that.
All the technical awards people that aren't televised.
Technically, if you really think about it, one of the most important people are actually the actors, because they're the ones that are,
They're
doing
the face,
actions on
the
screen.
face of the movie.
Yeah, the faces. And the Oscars would have you believe that. The Oscars like actually hate movies if you think about it.
No,
because they kind of just brush all the technical people aside.
but they
anyway,
gave best cheer-worthy moment of all time to something about the Flash doing a speed thing. I don't know. I didn't watch it.
Oh yeah.
All I know is Zack Snyder won best cheer-worthy moment of all time and
best fan favorite
That's right, for Justice League. Army of the Dead. You're right.
Army of the Dead.
Rubbish movie, piece of shit. Anyway.
Yeah, it's not great. But yeah, like when he says, movies is a team effort, it's absolutely right. Like you should listen to everyone. That's how Martin Scorsese does it. I think there's a anecdote or a little story about one of his films where one of the kind of lower on the tier
peons.
Crew, like
you can say it, Tavi, they're peons.
Yeah, they're peons. I guess I'm a peon, so that's all right as well. But yeah, like they suggested something and he implemented it, and it was a good idea. But like sometimes if you have like these really weird people that will come on and just tell you what to do, and it's just like, nah, like it really chafes you when you have people that don't believe in you, I guess.
Have you experienced? It sounds like you've experienced that as a director.
Yeah, with something that's not going to be seen, but like, yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of. It's the same with any kind of team environment, right? Like when you're collaborating with people, there has to be a leader, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, you do want to encourage input from your team members, but when there are too many voices, it can convolute the vision.
Yeah. I'm definitely like all ears guy. Like I like to listen to a lot of. You might not believe it, but I do. I listen to all bits of feedback.
Okay,
it's up to me, but it's up to me whether I implement it or not. I think that at the end of the day, it's like if I agree with it, I'll do it. Yeah. I'll try it.
I think you're right, but I can tell when you don't like an idea almost immediately. Like even mid sentence, I feel like I can tell when you're not liking what's coming out of my mouth.
I think one of my
which is good. It's good to be transparent. I think.
I think you should like you should have a clear vision. I always try to have a clear vision when I don't like something, or it's not that I'm not happy with it. It's just not in line with what I think would work. I would do my best to, tell you politely, except you, Dan, you can't. But like, yes. Every now and again, I'll work, and but it definitely has been a while since I have like been in that seat. I've just been doing a lot of, other odd jobs here and there. But just watching, getting back to this movie, it kind of did remind me a bit of like making films, especially its depiction of editing. Like there's Gene is often editing movies when he's doing the trailer and stuff. You spend fucking ages just trying to get this like 30-second snippet of something, and you think it's like the best shit ever, and it may be, it may not be.
Yeah. Even our Instagram reels that we make that just like are pretty rubbish, but we spend a long time on them.
I've kind of learned to like not spend too much time.
At first, it's like even these episodes, like at first, it's like a painstaking process to edit them, but like after a while, you're like, you just kind of cut corners and
that's
it doesn't have to be perfect. You kind of
I wanted to talk a little bit about process with this episode because I remember when I first talked about editing this, I said, all right, this is what you got to do. You got to do a few passes here and there. And I'd never edited a podcast before. But then I realized once we were like switching who was editing, and kind of when we didn't have enough time, I think one of the episodes I had to stop editing because my eye was getting worse, and I'm like, yeah, I probably shouldn't be editing while I'm recovering, which is basically what happens in this movie. To come to think about it,
but he carried on, Tavi, unlike you. Yeah, baby.
I'm not an anime character, man. My eye explodes. That's it. But yeah, like there's not too much of a difference, and it used to take me like 3 days to edit one episode, which is way too long. Takes me like maybe a few hours now, and I just do one pass of it, really.
There is a difference, but I guarantee you only we can tell the difference. Like anybody else that's listening wouldn't tell the difference between a podcast that we spent 3 days editing to a podcast that we spent one like hour editing, I reckon.
Yeah.
You know, unless you do, listeners, like let us know if our quality has dropped since we started, because we'll try to make time if that's the case.
And just hold that thought. I gotta take a crap. So you can leave that in if you want.
Okay.
Whew. Damn. Stomach's feeling a bit iffy, so if I might need to disappear again, but we'll see what happens. I'll let you know. But yeah, you can use your editing skills to obviously take out this large.
Leaving it all in.
So what were we talking about? We're talking about editing. Yeah.
We were talking about editing, yes. So, yeah, a big portion of the film centers around editing, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What do you think about the depiction of editing in this film?
Yeah, it's pretty spot on. Like,
is that what you're like when you're editing? You've got, in your head, you've got a katana and you're racing through the film slashing it.
It's not so much that, like, it's more... you kind of lose your mind a bit when you're editing. We're saying, editing the podcast, like we've obviously gotten, I guess, not sure if better or worse, but I mean we've gotten faster, which is a good way to think about it. But yeah, when you're editing movies or like editing a trailer, you've got something in your mind, but then like it's just. Sometimes it's not clear, and then you just you smash through it. You'll get some feedback, and then you'll be like, "How the fuck can I implement this feedback?" When he's editing the trailer at the start of the film, that's like very quick, But because after they finish shooting the film, and he's editing, and he's tired, 2 weeks later. And he's hospitalized and shit.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how I feel, and the squalor that he eventually lives in, and the amount of imagine the Pepsi he's drinking in this movie is energy drinks, because you just scull through that shit.
Yeah.
If anything, the what is missing in terms of depiction in both the editing and the filmmaking is the amount of smoking and energy drinks that are consumed on a set. Right. It's the most stressful thing that I've ever done is directing a movie, which maybe I might talk into depth a bit more with one of my projects, because I talk about me being filmmaking, but some of our viewers might look, oh, where the fuck is your shit, man? It's just fake filmmaker. But it really is one of the hardest
porn,
things,
guys. You got to look in the porn channels. That's what he's doing. That's where he is.
Yes. That's the most original joke that I've ever heard. It's just that's
hashtag Tavi Weinstein.
Yeah, it's tough, but it's definitely very gratifying. Obviously, when you actually show your film, and you kind of have a weird nostalgia after filming has wrapped and the set's done, and then you go into post-production where you start losing your mind.
But one thing they touch upon in this film is they do, I guess, principal photography first, right?
Yeah.
And then like they have a party once that's done. And then the actress is like, oh, thank you, director. Thank you so much. And they're like, and he's already in his editing mindset, you know, and it's kind of like they say, you know, the actor's job is done, but now it's like the editor's job. And in this case, they get, Pompo gets Gene to edit the film, even though he's the director. But that's like not generally what people do. Is that right?
Yeah, it's weird. Like,
because my understanding is like the directing is quite like a personal thing. So like you want someone a bit more objective who is able to cut more out of the film. Like, so you get an outsider to be the editor.
Yeah. No, I think you're right with that. It depends on the director, really. I think in the Australian landscape, you're often writing, producing, directing, and editing your own film just because we don't have the budgets to outsource that.
Okay.
But you're usually supposed to have the editor as an outsider who's not on set because, like, you're absolutely right. There is that objective look that you need because, like, directors and cinematographers who are in the edit suite might be there and be like, I love that shot, or the immersion in this particular thing worked really well.
Because they're there as well when that scene is shot. So, like, they feel it a lot more, right? Whereas an editor is just seeing it on a screen and he can, or they can see, like, whether it works or not on the screen.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I've honestly had that like happen a couple of times. Like, it's usually I let editors do the rough cut, which is, I think they talk about it in this movie, like the first cut, and then like you'll have a look at it first, and then you'll be like, oh yeah, this is what, because you're right, because I do see things that they put together that I didn't even consider. It's like, oh yeah, this is pretty cool, but then I will usually sit in on the editing sessions for the rest of the time, so I'm a nosy prick when it comes to editing. So it's like sometimes I can't quite get what I'm saying, so I'll just take the wheel for a bit. I'll shuffle some stuff, and this is what I mean. So, okay, I get you.
That sounds like and just a nightmare to work with.
No, man, you know, I'm awesome to work with.
Okay.
Just ask anyone, yeah. Especially the people that I nearly killed on the way home when I was driving home from being overworked. The whole overworked aspect is so true, and like the bit where Gene wants more reshoots. I've had to do that actually.
Oh yeah,
we didn't shoot a scene properly, and it's like you have to go back there. With my I guess my executive, I would say. Or just, you know, my lecturer.
Sure.
And I was like, oh, all right. And I kind of didn't really want to because you lose your momentum at that point.
Yeah.
And then you get back there on the same day. You can't get that same energy.
Sure. People's hair has grown and shit.
No, it's not that. It's just like, that's actually a very real issue. I mean, Justice League.
Yeah.
You know? So it's even fucking Doctor Strange 2 recently. That's like, so like it's definitely true, that whole aspect of thinking you need something reshot and it happens. Yeah.
And then there's the funding issue as well. I never really thought about like that's the thing about this film is like it's nice to see like every kind of aspect of filmmaking explored, like not just the art of it, but also the funding side of it. I found that part pretty interesting.
Yeah, this movie does like include all aspects of filmmaking, all the shit parts, like getting funding and like editing, and you know, it's. Yeah, like, I'd definitely go watch this movie.
It's definitely the most dramatized version of editing I've seen.
Yeah. But it's definitely got, like, some light to it. There's probably a lot less, like, crew members hooking up aspect. But that's probably stories I shouldn't share.
Again, it's a very wholesome, idealistic version of the filmmaking, like, modern filmmaking.
Yeah.
It's not 100% realistic, but like it's real enough, I think, to resonate with filmmakers, especially. Like I'm not there, but like I can see how this would appeal to your type of people, Tavi.
Yes, our people. Especially the part where the executives are pulling out and not giving them funding.
Yeah.
In real life, they just would not have given them funding because, like, I think the movie that they're making is based on, like, a musician who neglects his family for his craft. Unfortunately, maybe in Nollywood, this movie would be successful. In our world, if there's no superheroes in it, if it's not Marvel,
I mean, like,
no one's gonna want to watch this movie.
I mean, it might get critical acclaim though.
It get critical acclaim, but like investors aren't going to invest in this movie.
Sure.
Like, well, why should they?
Because there aren't enough passionate bankers that are willing to put their career on the line, Tavi.
Yeah, like that guy.
That's the thing. It's like this film was great, but it's so far removed from reality. But like, it's anime. You don't watch anime for reality.
No, it's definitely not. Like, it's funny because they definitely use aspects that are real, but it's 100% like
the idea that you can change a boardroom full of like old grizzled bankers' minds just with passion is out of this world. Like, it's
maybe we're just too cynical, Dan.
Yeah.
Well, I'm definitely very cynical.
I always say I'm a realist, which is what cynical people say to justify their cynicism.
No, it's funny. Like, some people say you're a pretty optimistic guy, Tavi, and I'm like, oh, really? Like, I don't really see it. I'm like, yeah, pretty cynical dude. Like, I can be upbeat at times, but like, yeah, I'm just like, oh, I guess this is how it is, kind of guy. But yeah, for sure, I have passion, but I don't know if I'm that extroverted enough to change a boardroom meeting full of old cranky dudes. Like, actually, the big issue that I have with this movie is its philosophy.
Okay.
Especially with Pompo, because she makes mostly B-grade movies. That's like her specialty. And she dismisses movies that are longer than 90 minutes because she's just like, oh yeah, you know, it's just boring.
She's a child though. So.
Is she a child? It's weird. Like, I don't know if she is actually a child or just
she's
like
just that type of
just
anime
like,
archetype.
Just that anime archetype. Yeah, like,
it is unclear. But I mean, like, her backstory is she watched films with her grandpa because that's all her grandpa really knows, and her grandpa, you know, is a big cinephile, but like, because she was a child watching these films, she found it hard to sit still for more than 90 minutes. Like, that's kind of her backstory, yeah? So, like, I think she's kind of dedicated her career towards making, like, 90-minute films that are enjoyable, which are these, like, schlocky B-movies, I guess.
Yeah.
And Jean's motivation is, he doesn't realize it's her, I don't think, but his motivation is to convince this person, like, to move them so much with a film that they stay till the end credits, right?
Yeah. But at the end of the film, like, he kind of just reverts back on that, and it's just like, no, she was right, because this film is actually 90 minutes.
Yeah, they made a point of it.
They made a point.
90 minutes on the dot.
But like, yeah, well, she says something like, you know, it's cruel to subject modern audiences to that. And it's just like, I feel like modern audiences' attention spans are getting way too limited to the point where 90 minutes is almost too long, you know? I've talked about liking long films and having the film's length be part of the narrative to just show.
I'll link you guys to our Drive My Car episode.
Yeah. So I have to completely disagree with Pompo. I mean, she's the genius and has made, so maybe she's right and I'm wrong. But like, I don't think movies should just be 90 minutes because I feel like with the 90-minute length of this movie, I don't know that much about anyone. You know just enough, but it's not enough because they've set up Natalie, but then she doesn't really do anything. They set up Martin and he doesn't really do anything. Alan kind of does. He's got his passionate speech. And I said at the start of this recording that it's not even about Pompo. It's about Jean, you know. So Jean is the main character in this movie. It's a manga, so maybe there's a bit more in the manga. But from what I see, I don't see enough of anyone because this movie sticks wholly to the filmmaking process. Like they're dramatizing what it is to make a movie, and that's pretty cool. Like it's good to watch, but I'm probably not going to watch this movie again anytime soon. It just kind of comes and goes.
Yeah.
I like the art style to it. Like it's a kind of kiddie, easy to watch. It's very easy to watch anime. Like it's just
it's a feel good movie, and I think like I mean, it succeeds in engaging the audience, even with a plot as bare bones as it is. Like the characters are so likable. And the character's passion for filmmaking is pretty refreshing and it is inspiring. And I think when that is coupled with like, you know, the top-notch animation and the upbeat soundtrack, I think it does hit you in the feels. But I think you're absolutely right. Ironically, this movie could have used another 30 minutes. I reckon.
I think it could. Like,
because just the thing is like everything kind of just works out for Gene. Like, even though he does come across like some difficulties during production, like location issues, needing additional funding, missing deadlines, investor dropping out, all that stuff, like because of the brisk pace of the film, these solutions are kind of like, they just seem to come really easily.
Yeah,
and it makes
I agree.
It makes it seem like everything just kind of works out when like, if they had an extra 30 minutes, this could have allowed them to inject a bit more drama and like have the characters struggle a bit more, which would have strengthened the overall message of the film, I think.
The crew is so nice to him. They're like, yeah, man, we got your back. But I'm pretty sure, like, when they're, like, at the, the lunch tents or, crafty, they feel like, this guy doesn't fucking know what he's doing.
Nah, he's got passion, though, Tavi. And that's all you need to make a new Academy Award-winning film. And nobody slapped him at the new Academy Awards, I can tell you that, Tavi.
Actually, just come to think of the actual filmmaking process, what they showed is the accidental magic that can happen on the set. There's stuff that can just happen that you don't intend, and you let the actors do what they do, or you just let nature take its course, and that's where you find like real cinema magic. I think that's definitely happened to me.
Sure. Like, we talked about it a bit in the Drive My Car episode as
well. Which I wonder. Again, talking about Marvel films. Once you've like got this really choreographed, like looking CG, and everything's kind of there, set and planned. And I wonder, like, if you kind of like lose that kind of cinema magic a bit. I don't know. Like, I think in the scene in Pompo when it starts to rain and half the sheep were eaten by wolves overnight, apparently. Like, they create these cardboard like sheep. That's like those moments like on set. It's just like, damn, that really takes you aback. Like when you're really stressed out and stuff and you see that magic, it's like, this is kind of what makes it worth doing. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, there's something to be said for overproduction, maybe. Like even with something as simple as our podcast, I think, when, like we were talking about the editing process before, there's something to be said for like overdoing it sometimes.
Oh yeah, for sure. Fucking used to take out all the ums and ahs.
Just leave them in, man.
Do that.
The listeners eat that shit up. Unless they don't. Let us know if you don't. We'll take them out. I'm sorry.
I usually try to take out the parts where like we like cut into each other and people are trying to say something.
Sure.
Like it's just like, oh yeah. So it makes it sound like we flow more, but we're actual jerks that are trying to outdo one another.
Constantly. We're Vin Diesel and Statham. No, Vin Diesel and The Rock.
We're Vin Diesel and
Justin Lin.
Risky's Justin Lin. Fuck you guys, man. Just suddenly spring on new projects and shit. Does it for free. We love you, man.
Keep it up.
We love you, man.
You're doing great.
We're gonna hang out, Risky. Yeah? Teach me more audio stuff.
So we can cut you out.
Like I don't. This podcast would not sound nearly as good without risking.
Oh, for sure.
And they don't have an audio guy in this movie, which they probably should, because audio is arguably as important.
Yeah, they kind of brush over that, don't they? Like, you've got Gene editing all this shit, but he's like, they don't really focus on any of the sound. Which, again, if they had that extra 30 minutes, they probably could have.
There you go. So Pompo just doesn't make very good movies. Right?
I don't know about the message as well, about the editing process. So they kind of like draw a connection between editing films and editing your life. So I guess it's kind of like about making difficult choices and cutting out everything unnecessary in order to like get the purest quality product, or like to fulfill your dreams. If you're talking about life, I guess, like if you have a dream, you need to kind of cut out all of this unnecessary stuff so that you can focus on your dream. I think that's what Gene is talking about.
Well, when you're editing, like, you probably heard this term before, but like, kill your darlings. Like, you will come across a particular, shot or a particular moment that you like. It's been really well shot, it's been really well acted, but does it contribute to the story? And that's kind of like what you have to decide.
Yeah. There's a part where he's like editing, and this is kind of brushed over as well, but he's editing the film and he's like fully resolved to cut it down to this 90-minute time frame, right? And like, he remembers the part where all the crew kind of suggests like that goat scene where the guy falls off the roof and then the goat licks him, and like all the crew members kind of collaborated on that scene. The lead actress suggested something, the lead actor suggested something, the crew was suggesting stuff, and then he just cuts it out. It's like, it's framed as if it's like a victory, but like, is it a victory, Tavi? Is that
it? That's the thing, because it could be a victory, because you just realize, it's hard, because like my big criticism, or what I've been criticized for, is that my shit's too long. So
this
like, I always do.
It's always fucking too long.
It's too long. Yeah, I'm like, so Dan, we'll do like 20-minute episodes. Now they're like average an hour. But yeah, like my stuff, like I think, like honestly, like Gene thinks everything's important, and sometimes I think that too. I'm like, well, I'm not going to remove this, but like it takes a long time to really like get to the crux of what you need. Like, and so it could be an accomplishment that they took that scene out, which is, took the goat scene out. You never know. Like, you might spend a lot of money trying to get a shot, but if it doesn't work for the scene or for the film, people don't like it.
I guess he's cutting the emotion out of it, right? When he makes that decision to remove that scene and get it down to this 90 minutes. But like, I don't know, it's kind of sending mixed messages. Like,
I agree with that, because like I said, this movie needed a bit more time. That's the thing. Like, you've left out maybe the bits where the crew might have turned against him or something, or maybe a particular one of the actors doesn't agree with him.
There's a little bit of it when like Natalie is watching him edit, and she's like, "Oh no, my intro scene. Oh no, my first interaction with Martin."
Yeah.
And then she's like, "Oh, actually, I trust you because you need me to trust you." Which that's nice. But I feel like it could have been explored a bit more. It could have been developed a bit more.
Well, that's usually why you don't let anyone else into the editor's suite except the director and the producer.
Sure.
And maybe the executive producers. But yeah, like it definitely sends mixed messages at the end.
I don't know if that's a good philosophy to live your life either, to be honest. It's like, cut out everything unnecessary.
Yeah.
Because your life is not a 90-minute film, you know what I mean? I feel like there is room for family and friends.
I think there's room. Like, you need that extra stuff to give your film or your emotions or your character like what it is, like knowledge, wisdom. Because like a lot of films kind of follow that. Have you heard of the Save the Cat book?
No.
It's kind of like this screenwriting book that was really popular, and I guess it still is, and it basically gives you the blueprint on how to write a film.
Okay.
And this is where your turning point should happen. And it's been like criticized for kind of making films a bit bland, because like I think the philosophy of that book is every moment should relate to the story and progress it. Yeah, which is true to an extent for sure. But I don't know, I feel like when I'm studying a lot of the like Asian movies that I've watched or read some of the the books about like Japanese film and all that kind of stuff, it's kind of like they let characters be characters, like they let the characters live in their world, like maybe when there's not even a conflict,
Yeah.
which you could argue that there is not much conflict in this movie either. Like the conflict is the process, it's the mind that's the antagonist, for Gene to be editing so long. But like, yeah, I feel like this movie kind of structured itself too short to like really make it stand out.
Because it does come from a manga, it probably feels like initially when I started watching it, it felt like I was jumping in to something that, has already been going for a while. I don't know if that's just me, but I got the sense that like I was missing some parts. But then it did pick up, I think, from the second act. And like I like the frenetic pace of it. Like I probably would have made it a bit longer, but like the art style is nice and the movements of the characters is quite frenetic. And it doesn't feel lazy as well. Like,
yeah.
Like I feel like a lot of work went into it, even with their little fun transitions between scenes. I think, I actually think they had a lot of fun editing this film.
Yeah. No, I definitely think it's a good watch. I would recommend it, especially if you want to know the filmmaking process without all the boring bits.
Yeah, it's kind of a good introduction to the filmmaking process. But at the same time, I think it would like resonate with filmmakers especially. At the same time, though, I feel like if I was somebody in the film industry that hadn't made it, and if I watched this film, I'd be like, fuck you guys, you don't know what filmmaking is like, because it's so idealistic, you know what I mean?
This movie, it was acquired by like G Kids for distribution in America, so it's obvious, like, it's definitely I wouldn't say it's a kids movie, but it's definitely like very family friendly. Like it's like there's nothing objectionable in this movie at all. It's definitely very feel good. Yeah. And I do kind of like this feel good stuff as well.
Refreshing.
Like, listen, back on the sadness episode, like you and Boone kind of paint me out to be this deviance that just like watches people like torture each other for like lengthy periods of time. I like feel good shit as well.
And especially in anime, I appreciate feel good anime. It kind of like reminds me of like the Suzumiya Haruhi situation.
Yeah.
Like the character design is very much like that anime, which is an excellent anime. And if you haven't watched it, you should check it out because it is a classic.
Yes, it is classic. It's one of the best. One of the ones that got me into more like weirder anime, I guess. At the time was super popular, but now it's like no one knows what the fuck you're talking about.
And
now.
They make a film in that as well. So
yeah, that's right. They do. They do that a lot in Japanese movies, like making. It's because of the the culture club culture.
Yeah.
That's a very good sentence. But yeah, like that aspect of Japanese culture, like people just like making things. That's just cool.
Yeah.
But yeah. But yeah, maybe we can wrap this one up.
Yeah. All right, guys. What did you think about this film? Did you enjoy it? Did it make you want to go out and make a film, or did you find it a bit too anime for you? let us know. You can get in touch with us at twoasianblokes@gmail.com. You can join our Facebook group to be part of the conversation, or you can follow us on Instagram at twoasianblokes to see what we're up to. Thank you for listening. If we've done this right, this episode will be, I'm going to say, 45 minutes exactly now.